Done. What is up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. And we've got a great guest with us today. We're going to get to him in a second. It's James Coburn, the author of Re-Succeed. He's also a real estate coach, an experienced agent himself. And we're going to go deep on a couple of concepts from his book, as well as answering questions. We're going to talk about whether you should start a team or whether you should become a more successful solo agent. We've got a ton of stuff to dive into. So this is going to be a really fun and in-depth episode. So first of all, my co-partner and my co-pilot in the co-pilot seat, he is the junior grandmaster himself, Greg McDaniel. Greg, what is up today?
Matt, I'm here. And I'm excited.
Yes, you are.
You know, I am always here. I am like a virus. I stick around and can't even get rid of me with penicillin.
Right.
But, you know.
And many have tried.
Many have tried, but I have bested them.
Right.
But we have James Coburn, the author of Re-Succeed. He is going to be one of our reoccurring guest guys. We're going to start going through this book. Highly encourage you to get out a pen. Prehistoric, like the dinosaurs, but they still work. And start taking notes. Go buy this book. We'll put a link in here for you guys to go buy this book and go through this with us. It is truly an awesome book. You know, Matt, I was doing some research on a couple of different real estate companies today, and it is incredible to look at the way that our industry is changing right now. I mean, we have big box, which is like traditional. Then you have like the like small box, more like boutique style, and then you have the virtual. And it's really weird, man. The stuff I've been reading and watching about where this industry might be going. What's the guy's name? Swestpool? The one I messed up?
Swanpool.
Swanpool. Sweaty balls. Swanpool. No, he is a awesome guy, right? I've seen him speak like 3 times. And he is forecasting that a lot of people are going to be going to the virtual world because the overhead costs of just traditional brokerages are just driving down profits and commission the agents are taking home. It's fascinating. If anyone wants to talk to me about it and pick my brain, I'll pick your brain because I want to see what you guys think about where this market's going. I think there's going to be a shift. That is my prediction. That's what I say.
Yes. Well, there will be. And James, this is a good jumping off point for you. Welcome, by the way.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me out. I love it.
Powerful intro.
Hi. And James, welcome.
Exactly. All right. So James, we were, let's pick up the conversation because we started chatting about this a little bit before we went live, and I want to bring that conversation to everyone that's listening and watching. But you were mentioning that some of the things you've been running into in your own coaching has been this whole discussion of, well, I feel like I need to start a team, or I think that may be the next step for me. And they're looking to either get into the right environment or looking for like how to take those first few steps. And I'm curious to get your perspective on it because obviously you've been through this, you coach it at the highest level, and you've been super successful as an agent and team leader. So when you have someone come to you and say that, like, hey, you know, we're coaching together, like help me take the first steps to starting a team, where do you start with someone?
Well, honestly, the first question is why? Because the answer to that question is really, it's an interesting thing because, you know, people start teams for various reasons. Some people will start a team thinking they need to have a team so they don't have to work on weekends or they can go on vacation and not worry about like picking up the phone or whatever. But that sounds a lot more like a partnership. You know, I mean, it's a kind of a tag team partnership. You know, I did this for years in my business where I always knew if I was out of town, someone else would cover it. I don't have to worry about giving away 20%, you know, for someone popping a door or two, and then vice versa. And there was just kind of like a generalized respect. I mean, I would take care of her clients, she would take care of my clients, and we would just kind of tag team through. And then if it was just like like literally she had to, you know, go 3 or 4 days with someone and actually write up an offer, then I just take care of her on that transaction. So that's a partnership. That's not a team. I mean, back in my day, when I was kind of initially looking at teams, I got to be honest with you, it was all about ego. So someone started explaining like, hey, because I want to be doing 3 times the amount of deals and make sure my name's on every contract, right? Then now we're into this ego thing, and you guys know how ego is a great boosting off place when you're a brand new agent and you have no right to have any ego around it. But at least you show up, you keep your car clean, you take a shower, right? You have pride in yourself and how you present, right? And then that gets you down the road. You get a couple deals under your belt, you pay your split, whatever, right? But ego doesn't work long term. And if you want to have a team, when I smell ego as the motivation, we got to go back a few steps. So this is like a psychological discussion. I mean, the whole team thing is ultimately a psychological discussion.
Mm-hmm. We have a team here that I work with. I mean, my team, the empty void behind me.
It looks like bustling team.
Yes. Well, they scamper away like roaches when the lights come on. And when this light comes on, they're like, and they're gone. So that's why you never see anybody in here, because they hate being on camera. But we call ourselves a team, but we really are a partnership, because me, Terry, and Chris, we call the three blue shirts, or the three partners, we make a pledge that at any given time, one of us will be boots on ground for any issues that may arise. And Eileen is our command center who communicates out to the rest of the world and back to the team. And so it really, we don't have buyer's agents or seller's agents. We're all full agents. So yeah, we're more like, we're a partnership, and it works well for us, but it doesn't work well for everybody.
Yeah, it's a community team. Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of agents, when they first start out, they are thinking in that direction, James, because they're looking to pick up, I would say, resources, and a lot of times they're looking to pick up the wrong resources, which they're looking for someone to do some of the heavy lifting for them in terms of lead generation. I see that a lot. Like, hey, let's team up and let's farm this neighborhood together. Great. What should happen is that you put in 50% of the work and you get 50% of the profit. So what do you gain by partnering up? Right. So if you think you're going into it and you're going to get more out of it than you're putting in, what do you think the other person's thinking? I'm guessing they're thinking the same thing, and somebody's going to lose. And most likely it's going to be both of you, because it's a waste of time, because you're not going to get more lead generation out of it than you're putting into it. And so, but I love the discussion of the ego thing, because you're right, Jan. And this is the path of mastery, right? Like, ego is what starts us down the path a lot of times. But in order to keep going down and ascending to higher and higher levels of mastery in whatever we do, the ego has to go away, because otherwise you stop being humble enough to learn.
Well, and that's the interesting thing. I've met people where I know for a fact that they're in a meeting with me to get something out of me. And that, they do the kind of the, hey, how can I help you? And they're just waiting. They're waiting for you to reciprocate the same question back, right? So that, imagine hiring someone where it is just so obvious that hiring someone for the wrong reason would be like, I want to tap into your sphere of influence. I want you to bring me additional deals that I normally wouldn't have. I'm going to pick up 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70%. I've seen it as high as 80% of your business. I'm going to clip your wings, going to make sure you don't actually feel like you can do this without me. No questions, right? This is all these reasons are, reasons to not be a team, or reasons where it'll fail, because, the guy, I was just talking to someone yesterday that was offered a team position, and the team lead, or the guy that was hiring, said, I don't want to hire you because I think you're going to leave me in a year. And I would say having someone great for a year, if you have the team correctly set up, is resilient against someone leaving you in a year, right? Like an office, right? Like, you guys are, if you're in an office, it's because the office is providing enough challenge, and you feel like there's additional growth to be had there, right? You're a constituent at that office as long as you feel like you're growing, or you have capacity to grow more there. It's when that office starts failing you from a cultural standpoint, or when it starts failing you from the growth standpoint, where you would start looking. And that's why owners, I work with 80 owners in our real estate firm, and owners, they know that when you start seeing someone, like, for example, when they start going negative year over year on their deals, right? Or if they ramp their business completely down, you see people go down to no deals in escrow. That's code for, I'm trying to die my business off so I can leave this place. Right. So then that's when you're talking to someone. So I would say you want someone that's constantly trying to grow. And as long as they can grow quicker with you than someone else, they're going to stay with you. And whether that's a year or 5 years or 10 years, you know what I mean? I'll take great for a year, rather mediocre. Someone's clipped their wings, not willing to, does not know how, doesn't have enough confidence to go on their own for 10 years. But really what you mentioned is sourcing leads, because you only should be a team when you have so many leads you don't have enough time to manage them. That's a reason for team. But remember, we all, and I speak generalized here, but we all went into this business because we suck at like supervising. Like, I mean, that's like I remember the first like month, I was like, hold on, this is awesome. Like, I don't care about anyone else and what they're doing in this office, right? Like, there was a leadership issue that I had, like, for years it was like, gosh, he's great with his clients, but man, do not have him supervise someone. And, but you know what? Those demons don't go away. The lessons are there. They just follow you. And have you ever noticed the people that don't have any leadership skills at all are the ones that keep on getting leadership opportunities? I mean, everywhere you turn, it's like, oh my gosh, I got to supervise more humans or be on a nonprofit board and oversee and lead and whatever it is, right? And it's because the lesson's not going to go away until you've handled it. So this is the psychology that we start talking about, is like, you want to be a team, but you suck at leading, right? So, you got to kind of go through that a little bit. What does it mean to lead? And what does it mean to, I call it dispassionately hand off leads, right? So I don't want to hand off my precious leads from my very, direct sphere, right? Because I'm going to micromanage the crap out of that stuff, right? So I want to create a lead generation tool where I'm like, hey, here's a new buyer and go for it, right? I wish you all the best, and I'll be here to support you. But it's not, here's a new buyer who's, they're buying with me the fourth time, but I don't want to help them anymore because I can't stand working with buyers. Right. So it's kind of a dispassionate leadership where you're dispassionately letting go without being so wrapped up in the outcome and letting them run with it. So,
Matt, you did a podcast earlier today with Jeff Cohn, the team building podcast, and you interviewed a gentleman who is like a machine when it comes. I was just out there with my jaw dropping. I mean, that man is leading by example. He's out there. He's still doing 30, 40, 50 deals himself a month. He's recruiting for his business, but he's grown exponentially. That guy deserves to be a team leader of a team, because he's out there. He's not sitting up in the chair in the high tower commanding orders down. He's in the front pulling first and letting his team watch his lead. And I think that, like you said, Ego is the Enemy is a great book, by the way, guys. It's a phenomenal book. But it talks, the ego really does get in the way, because it's always about the dick measuring contest of who has the biggest team, who did this, who did that. But another thing you need to take a look at, is the team a right move for you? Because it's not about how much you make, it's how much you keep. And if you make $2 million, but you spend $1.7 million in overhead costs, team expenses, and the whole 9 yards, marketing, then you take $200,000 home. Is that really worth it? I don't know. Or if you can make $500,000, be a solopreneur and do your own thing and build your own schedule. I mean, Hank talks about doing the 36 to life, or you can pick a number that you want to do, and just do something that works on your own. You bring up a really good point, James, and I think that a lot of people need to get it out of their brain that, I have to build a team. I want to join a team. That's why Matt and I always argue about this, but I always say start on your own for 6 months to a year. And then after 6 months or a year, if you want to join a team, or if you want to build a team, or if you have the track record to do so, go ahead and do it. But at least try to do it on your own for a little bit, so so you can cut your own teeth out there instead of being spoon fed.
Yep.
But I mean, that's the I don't give a shit look. Greg?
No, well, I'm not gonna bust your balls about that. We've talked about it, but we both come from a place of wanting to do what's best for people. We have a little bit different perspective on it, but even our best advice, if you were to get us one-on-one with an agent, our advice would change based on the agent, right? Because James, we would have that same conversation with them. Why are you in real estate? What got you into real estate? And this leads into the discussion that we want to have about daily routines and re-succeed and all that stuff, because the unfortunate thing about real estate is that it tends to attract people who got into the business specifically to get away from structure. Now, it's one thing if you are, let's say you're a single parent right? And you need the flexibility to be able to drop your kids on and off from school because there's nobody else that can do that for you, right? Real estate can provide you with a measure of that flexibility to where you get to set your own schedule. But the key there is setting a schedule, right? That you still need to have one. What ends up happening to like most agents, I think, that get into the business with that mindset is they end up with time freedom, but no financial freedom, which that sucks. And it's just a flip side of working a 9 to 5, right? It's so that's where most agents are. And I think there's something to be said for the Lance Loken approach of just bringing people in from the corporate world, paying them a salary to get started, just enough to get them rolling, and bringing in people into real estate that don't have that mentality. But right now we're working with what we've got. So if you're a team leader, James, if you're a coach, you're probably working with people who got into the business partly for the freedom. And so you're working with people whose like number one or number two value a lot of times is freedom and autonomy. And that affects every decision they make. So let's get into that conversation of how you start to work on that and start to build a little bit of structure, and that idea of structure leading to habit and the habits creating freedom.
Is that my lead in?
Yes.
That is your
Yes, that is. Deafening silence from both me and Matt.
That's
anytime there's more than
a clue.
That's right. Anytime there's more than 0.2 seconds of silence from me and Greg, that is what we call a semi truck level opening for you. That is the equivalent with us.
So here's what happened to me when I became a real estate agent. I literally became a real estate agent because every single realtor that I saw was hanging out at happy hour. Like I was, I'm working, right? And these guys are just kicking it at happy hour, black on black Beamers, in the parking lot, and shinier than heck, right? Like it almost looked like they were glossy, they're just like right off the showroom kind of Beamer, and just no care in the world, not one little care in the world, right? So I went, I guess you get, it's like a government issued black on black Beamer, right? And you go to happy hour, right? So I got into real estate, and I realized actually the only way to get to that point is to have some sort of structure in your daily life. Now, structure could be viewed as a negative, right? We could actually, when we hear the word structure, like, it's just like having a structure to your workout. Like, no, I just want to go in there and a little bit of treadmill and maybe weights, and then
I'll look at the weights. The weights. Yeah. Does that count? Yeah, no.
Exactly.
Count.
So to skip the structure, right? Just
depends on who's lifting them.
By the way, we call in up here we just call it an executive workout, where you go in.
Executive workout. That's right. You do a little bit on the treadmill and then hit the sauna.
Yeah, you do a little. Yeah. Well, you do a little. You do a nice cash treadmill action, little stretch. Got to do a stretch, Stretch.
Oh, got to do a stretch. Okay.
You do a little stretch, right? And sightseeing. Just do some sightseeing in the gym there, right?
Cruising around. Yep.
I mean, you're literally selecting machines based on the sightseeing opportunities, right? So this is executive. This is an executive 101. You're like, hey, I think I am going to do the elliptical today.
That's right. Where's that fly machine that faces the leg section?
Yeah. Adductor, abductor. So that's right. Then you're like, if I get in the jacuzzi, it's actually good for me. It limits me up. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with a little self-soothing. There you go, Greg, with that one.
Yes.
And then
that is awesome.
And so at any rate, so we're back to structure.
Yes.
We're just back to structure. So the structure thing, interestingly enough, is that we go into real estate thinking there's less structure, but actually the only way you can have freedom is creating some sort of structure. But here's the best part about it: your structure can be something you totally can live with, but you gotta have a system. You gotta have some sort of structure. And a lot of people say, I don't have any structure. I go, yeah, you do. What if you actually wrote down your ideal, like what would be the best for you in growing your business? And in my opinion, this whole business is not right deals. You don't even have to. Someone else will help you with a contract. In fact, skip learning the contract. Just lean on your broker for that. Here's the deal: this entire thing is having conversations. You're not even closing anyone. you're not saying, oh, by the way, right? So your structure, honestly, should be getting in front of or talking with people that want to buy or sell, or know someone who want to buy or sell. That's the entire business. Hey, Greg, you know how you interviewed the police officer way back when? Did you get a deal out of that?
No, I got a lot of views, but I didn't get any deals.
You got a lot of views. What's interesting though is something will birth out of that. Like just that one little meeting that you had someday, like for example, doing an event at a restaurant, right? Something will come out of doing the event at the restaurant, sitting on the airplane with someone or whatever, right? So this is structure, right? There's actually structure to your daily life.
You know what? Something that you bring up that's so interesting about this is the fact I'm listening to The Prosperous Coach. I'm sure you've read it 1,000 times. I'm on my second time through it. I'm getting so much stuff out of this. It's like The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, but for coaches. It's awesome. But that's exactly what they're talking about. Everything's about a conversation. Everything's about just building that relationship, not putting a dollar amount or an outcome to whatever you're doing, but just deciding, don't advertise on stuff, but go out there and build amazing relationships and get your deals that way, because you want to go work with awesome people, because you don't want to work with a dickhead. There's a whole big bag of dicks out there, and you don't want to go messing around with them, because they're going to suck your time, they're going to suck your energy, and they're going to suck your emotions out of you, and it's just not a good way to go, and they're not going to treat you the way you deserve to be treated. So I love what you're saying right here, because a lot of people don't take that into account. They don't protect their time, and they don't protect the clients that they work with, because they don't do relationship building. They're not relational, they're transactional. And they just go in for the deal, and you deal with assholes, and then you go, why am I so depressed and so exhausted and so tired and so emotionally drained? Because you work with jerk-offs. Start working with people that you like and they respect you.
Here's the rock star I know is a guy named Doug Morse. I hope he's listening. He's up in Medford, Ashland area. He's got a team. Doug met my wife at a foundation night. We were at a nonprofit foundation night for John L. Scott, and Doug had never met my wife before. So he asked her name. She said his name, and he like, oh, that's a lovely name. And then it was like I watched the master go to town. He just slowly but surely. I was like, the whole world stopped in the whole public event. I turned to someone else and said, "Watch the master go." I mean, he's going to own her. Right? Like it is like, oh my gosh, that's such a great, and you know what, the thing is, you can't train it. You can't train. That was a great little moment conversation, but his business is thriving because he does that with everyone, to the point where it's a little uncomfortable because he asks such great questions. I mean, you were talking about asking why. Steve Sims, who wrote Blue Fishing, says ask why 3 times. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which is interesting. So here's part of that conversation and structure around having those amazing or crucial conversations, if you will. And he says, ask why 3 times. The first time is kind of the reason why you think, you're doing what you're doing. The second answer to the why is, I would answer that how I think you want to hear it. Right. And then the third answer to the why you are doing something, or why you're interested in something, or why you want to buy a house, or why you want to sell a house, or whatever, right? Is from the heart. And so, I have a friend that, he's always said, you ask something the first time, whatever, it's just kind of like, hey, how you doing? Who knows if you mean it, right? If you ask it a second time, maybe you're just nosy. The third time, it's like, whoa, this guy has asked 3 freaking times, right? How you doing? And so I like to say that this is the structure of
That's at the point connection. That Greg collapses into your arms and cries.
Yeah. But you know what's interesting?
Greg, how are you doing?
But it is interesting though, if you ask, have you ever been asked why 3 times, or have you ever been asked what are you working towards 3 times, or have you ever been asked, what are the things that you're feeling challenged with in your business 3 times? Man, you get someone asking that 3 times, and all of a sudden you're like, man, this guy really cares. And that's the kind of structure that we should be focused on. So this isn't, I need to label so many envelopes, I need to send out so many, whatevers, right? I need to knock on this many doors. I like to focus structure around connection.
Right. You know, I think that's a lot of the good things. I mean, what Terry does that a lot, the Grand Master. And you explaining it kind of really, because he will sit there, and we call it the Terry dance. He'll sit there with his khakis, his penny loafers, his Costco shirt, and his sweater vest, and he'll just dangle one leg over the other, and just kick his leg around like this, and just go, that's interesting. Tell me more. Oh, why is that?
Well, right, but I've heard you say that he goes, God, that smells good. Gosh,
oh yeah,
garlic. I mean, and once you do it, you're done. It's like, well, we're listing with him.
Yeah, he complimented my cooking.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. Like, wait a minute, I didn't know we were planning to move, and yet mysteriously my home is on the market.
So weird. I thought we were just coming over for a dinner or Bible study.
He is an Aikido master, and I've personally experienced it, so I know what I'm talking about. Yes. Oh my God.
But he goes into it purely out of curiosity. Purely out of curiosity. Right. There's nothing that he's in. Yeah, he's not trying to get in. Well, sometimes he's working the deal, but majority of the time he's trying to disqualify you from buying or selling. He's looking for a reason to be like, you know what, James, you know what, I appreciate you having us over. That does smell good, by the way. You know what, help me understand why you can be making a move. You know,
I like the swing in the leg kind of.
He does, dude. And the doodle. Let me show you this. This is the doodle, and I don't know what it does. Oh yeah, this is the doodle. So he will do this.
Fidget spinner.
He will, go a line here, and do this, and then he just does zigzags, circles up, an X here, a line here, maybe, about there. This is something he'll create. Okay, makes absolutely no fucking sense on planet Earth. But somehow the people are like
showing a positive graph upward.
Just tell me more, Master Terry. And you're like, what the hell just happened?
Right. When Doug owned my wife in like 52 seconds, same idea. But interestingly enough, though, if you could just start with go deep with yourself and say, what is the thing that draws people in to relationship with me, and what's the thing where I have a shield up? And if you spent a week or 2 weeks just around structure of your connection with people, am I a talking head, or do I ask questions and then shut up? But am I listening when they're answering? Like, that question alone's huge, because it's like when they'll finish and then they'll say something and you're like, you didn't hear anything.
I do that to Matt Daily. He's like, you get it? I'm like, yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah.
You're like, right. Well, that is awesome.
Tell me more. Yeah. Can you recap that real quick? Because I didn't hear the first time. That would be super awesome.
Yeah. Cliff notes. Yeah.
All right. So not only building some structure into your conversation, but also, James, going back to the idea of structure in your day, the goal is to structure your day around having more conversations, right?
Oh, yeah. And so,
what does that look like?
Well, I mean, I like to just say, okay, seriously, this is where you can cheat away. Hey, when you are getting dressed after your workout, you can either get dressed silently while you watch about the Vegas shooting, which is an option, right? Or you can get dressed and then you can say, I don't know, always feel like, turn to a guy and just say, I always feel better after the workout. Get ready for the flood. When you talk to one guy inside
in the gym locker room, are we fully clothed? Like, this is when both dudes are like fully clothed, right?
They have
we're not striking up conversations with the old guy in the gym that doesn't wear clothes, right?
So I didn't want the get ready for the flood thing to take you off this direction. I never expected. No. So what I'm saying is this. I am not going to say I always feel better after a workout until I'm at the point where I'm tying my shoes. Now, I'm not going to select the naked guy, right? Okay. I'm not going to select him. There's other options, right? But if you think about it, what I've learned, and I speak about this in my book, what I've learned is that it's the guy that you've seen in the gym that you can't stand. Yeah. And you have absolutely no reason why you can't stand him. You just can't stand him. You have predetermined he's a total jerk, right?
I know why.
I think I'm that person for most people in the gym. I think I'm that guy.
You decided he's a pedophile. You decided he was watching you too closely when you were putting your underwear on. Whatever it might be, it's all real. This is all real. Okay, this is all real. And you've decided now. if you pick that guy out, whether it be the gym or I was at my daughter's soccer game and I mentioned this in my book, and I finally this guy started trying to talk to me and I started trying to ignore him. I acted like it was too into the game to talk to him. But then one day, like weeks later, I actually talked to him and said, "Hey, I feel bad. I was really into the game the other day." He ended up being a great friend and referring me tons of business, all because I talked to a guy that I didn't want to talk to, right? So this is the structure, is that you could set it up like, how's my connections at the gym going to change, or how's the connections? Like, I know a guy that just owns like the Starbucks, all the employees, like he goes into the Starbucks and like, it's not just thank you. They've made it so you can just literally not even interact, where you use the app, this and that. They kind of know your drink, but then boom, done. But you could actually structure your individual time at these different spots throughout your day. And literally, this is where you get to cheat and say, I'm going to have 2 conversations at Starbucks. I'm going to have 1 conversation at the gym. You could just go through your life literally having crucial conversations, and your business would grow.
So we define a crucial conversation for folks who might,
crucial conversations.
Crucial conversations. Tongue twister. But James, break that down. So people are like, what's a crucial conversation, constitute? What does that look like? Is it like, hey, you got a great pair of shoes on, which would be really weird for one dude to tell another dude that. Hey, Matt, you got really cool shoes. Okay, walking on the other side of the Starbucks.
Well, it depends on how you say it.
Just the way I said it. But James, what would be a conversation that would constitute a good quality conversation for someone? I mean, just so they get context.
That's a good question, but this is the hard part to train on, because if that doesn't come I know this one manager of an office that works in our company, and he takes a walk to Starbucks with any new prospect, any new recruit prospect for his office. And I said, why do you do that? Oh, I'm thinking maybe just to go and have coffee with him. He goes, James, it's the walk from my office to Starbucks that is the most important part of the interview with this new possible agent. And he says, can that prospective agent hold my attention and keep the conversation going between the office and Starbucks? That is his measure on if they're going to be a fit. Well, also if they're going to be a success in real estate. I mean, that your dad was not trained on how to take interest in humans, right? It just is. It's just natural, right? The two of you. Literally, you have you have a one-man band. When you do the cold calls, it's just it's your own little personal party. You're alone, dude. And I swear, you're completely alone, and I feel like you're talking only to me. I swear there's no one else there. There's awesome. No one else there. Yeah. And you don't even, you just naturally do it, right? So that same idea is just, I understand your question, Matt, but it really, really is, that's one of the intangibles that you just can't, you either have it or you don't.
Yeah, but I think it can be, at least in introverts, it can be developed, especially a couple of things, the awareness of your ability to start conversations and then exit them gracefully, right? So that is a skill, that is a social skill that can be developed. And then the awareness of the opportunities and understanding and kind of flipping the switch of being out in the world and understanding that it's not just about you getting from thing to thing to thing, which if you're a high D, it's very easy to get into that mode. And just taking a step back and realizing that, hey, like that Starbucks barista, like they're freaking tired of just making coffee. Like they would actually like to have a short 30, 60, 120 second interaction with you that was pleasant, right? And I think especially introverts kind of lose sight of that sometimes. And so, I mean, it helps me to keep that in mind too. Because I can definitely, especially when I travel, more so than when I'm just out in the world. But like when I travel, dude, I'm in full on travel mode. Like I look like you, like earbuds in, you know what I'm saying? And if I don't make a conscious effort, like I will go and I don't even know that I talk. I can fly from one end of the country to the other and not have a single interaction with a human being, which sometimes that's what I want, but not if I'm trying to like build a business,
I think back to this one. I had some new shoes. I mean, it's that simple. And I was pretty proud of these shoes. And I was in the Pullman Airport, Eastern Washington. And I walked in there like, number one, I walked in there like I literally own the airport. Like I thought I did. And I was so proud of my shoes, and I wanted people to notice them. Right. So I kind of stood in line like, I don't know. I just stood in line like a guy with some awesome shoes. 3 different, and I didn't look at my shoes. I didn't point them out. I didn't have a sign. I had 3 different people, and they were in different areas of the airport, so they weren't in line. All tell me how awesome my shoes were. Right. So I went in with the intention that I wanted to have a conversation, right, about my shoes, right, and then the rest is history. And you know what? I started realizing that it's actually how I showed up. I actually came in there with that intention. I kind of visualized what the conversation would be, and we've all done this. Like I always tell the story about going to a cocktail party, turning to my wife and saying, "Honey, I swear I don't want to talk about real estate. I just want to be a normal human being at this party. I don't want to I don't want people talking to me about what the market's doing. I just don't want to be that." And and then of course, you're talking about real estate the entire evening, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting about it is, though, that you go in there with the intention, a specific intention, and you're more likely to come out with that. And so what you're talking about, Matt, is that maybe it's an intention, thing within yourself. It's like, hey, listen, it would be really, really cool to meet someone that knows someone that needs to buy or sell, and just set it out there, and then be at the gym, and then be at the Starbucks, So
yeah, it's all about the energy. That's one thing I learned. I mean, it's all about whatever you think about is gonna manifest into your life. Good, bad, ugly, it's gonna show up. And you know what? I've done the same thing, dude. I'm sorry. I am so fucking proud of my new car. I walk around like the King Tut in that fucking thing.
Huge bucket list deal. SRT.
Huge bucket list. And you know what? The other day, this is my own personal little pride thing. On Saturday morning, I was driving to this to the CMA at 10 o'clock, and I see another SRT come up behind me, a Dodge, and I saw his little maneuver. He wanted to play, so I just dropped the hammer on that thing, and it took off like a bat out of hell. I was at 111 in about 1 second, and he came up right behind me, and we were just weaving through traffic, playing the game. He was almost on me, and I slammed it again, took off to 125. Then I'm like, oh fuck, I got to get off the exit. And I slowed down enough. Whenever you do the car racing thing, you guys have a good race. You're like, all right, peace. Yeah, nice race. Secret little bucket list for mine again. I'm like, I made it. Thank God I survived that. Fuck, that was stupid. But
hey, I was on Las Vegas Motor Speedway for a Dodge Chrysler SRT demo. It was dude, I'm telling you, racing around. With your car racing around the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But I think it's a Steve Petty Motor School, and you can pay $500 to go or something.
Yeah, well, if you buy a brand new SRT, no matter what,
it was. Yeah,
you get invited to this thing, and you can go learn how to drive these things.
And then and I didn't have one, but I was a friend, so I paid $500.
Oh, so awesome. But my point is that I went out there with the energy level of like, dude, I know my car's fucking bad, and I know it's going to kick some ass, and I'm just ready to eat some pavement. So who's going to be my bitch? And I found one, but 2 cars back.
That's right. And for anyone who may be let's say, a sheriff or a police officer in Contra Costa County, feel free to just refer back to this video where Greg publicly admitted that he drove 125 miles an hour on God knows what road.
I don't know.
Yes.
Prove it. It's not about what you know, it's what you can prove. And you can't prove it.
That's right.
Actually, you probably can. But I mean,
I love the derail. It was a massive derail.
Oh, massive derail. But it had to do with the energy of showing up to something with an intention, right? Yes. And so I showed up to the intention to just drive like a madman. We're going to dedact that off the record. No, that never got said.
Redacted. Gotcha.
Redacted, yeah. And then
gotcha.
Like James showed up with his shoes. I mean, there's been a lot of other times that I've showed up in different, I've showed up. Okay, well, I did it the other day. I showed up to a couple of listing appointments, and I owned my space. I dominated my airspace. Because I knew consciously I was going into it. And you know what? Every single time the meetings went extremely smooth, extremely well. There was good connections. There was good, next move, next step, conversations. I mean, my biggest listing I ever took down from doing outbound cold calls was a $3 million listing. And I went in there wearing Vans tennis shoes, jeans, a dress shirt untucked, and in a suit jacket. And I was a little nervous, but then I just took complete control of my air and myself, and I dominated the situation. We had it listed by the end of the day. So it can go from shoes to listings to that hot chick or that hot dude over there. Own your shit and go make the move, and your life will change off the next decision that you make. I mean, James, back me up on this one, and Matt, back me up. If your life is going down this path and you have a fork in the road to go right or left, your next decision can make all the difference in your life. You can keep going left like you've always done in your life, or you can make a decision to go right and change the way you think or feel about yourself, your business, your personal life, or anything else, your education, and all of a sudden you can start owning something different. I know I've done it several times.
Yeah, there's. I wish I got the recording. I was just checking this out the other day. So when I went up to the One Life Fully Lived event in Sacramento with Christopher Lockhead, he brought on one of his mentors named Bix Bixen. And guys, go find the episode of Legends and Losers with Bix Bixen. That is freaking unreal. One of the guys in the industry called it the single best podcast episode he's ever heard. So anyway, Bix Bixen gets up to speak. And he said he has this incredible analogy, which goes perfectly with what you said, Greg. Which that I'm not a big fan of backing up anything that you say. So this is a one-time exception. Let's not make a habit of it. But anyway, he said when most of us do not look at the future, especially when we have a big opportunity. What we do is we plant our chair, we turn it around, and we face it backwards, and we look at our past for an indication that we've done this before we commit to this big thing that we're looking to do. He says, by definition, you're not going to find something like that in your past that's an evidence that you can pull this off. Right. So whatever big decision, whatever fork in the road you have, and Greg, you and I are on one right now, like we're committing to go down a certain path. There's nothing in our mutual pasts that is the size and scale of the thing that we're about to attempt to do. Because guess what? If there was, it would already be done. Right. So if you're attempting something big, by definition, you're not going to be able to look back in your past and find something that you can hang your hat on to go, yeah, I've done this before. You have to step into the future and say, I'm going to do this new thing. And you have to base your confidence on something else, your ability to solve problems, for example. So, and that's what a lot of agents do, is we look back at the past and we're looking for that example of having already done it before we commit to doing something. And that's not how life works. That's not how it works when you're attempting to do something.
Oh, I love that. I mean, there's making decisions based on, do I have all the pieces? Do I have all the capacity? You can figure out a thing you don't have, right? And most of the time when you figure out one thing you don't have, then you abandon the plan. I mean, I meet people all the time that say, I want to write a book, but I don't write that well, or but it doesn't even matter. And it's like, listen, if you want to write a book, you'll get out of your own way. I mean, it's, hire an editor if you don't write that well, or you just get out of your way. Stop trying to, as I call it, try to connect all the dots before you do something. And by the way, don't look at your past as any indicator of your future. I mean, in my opinion, the past is past. I mean, the worst part about real estate is that when you have your pinnacle year, your very best year ever, that may be the very best year you ever will have in your entire career. The business we're in doesn't always go up, right?
No.
So then you spend the rest of your life trying to have the year you had back then, right? Rather than living the life now, right? So it's a little bit of the living in the moment thing, but just having everything based on the past and trying to relive it.
Yeah, I'm guilty of it. I mean, we have had some amazing years. This year has not been the best year in real estate for our team. I'll be straight up. I mean, I'm always honest with you guys. So, people have ebbs and flows. And do I want to live for the future? Yes, but there's something deeply wrong with that. The past is written in stone. There's absolutely no change in it. Nothing on earth will ever change your past. Yesterday, 5 minutes ago, is written in stone. It's the way it's done. You can watch the recording here. But the funny thing is that everybody, when you're standing in your current present self right now. This is the actual only reality that you can ever experience, but yet everybody is always planning and looking to the future for what's going to be and pushing to where they're going to be in life, but they never take the time to actually experience what you have now and be thankful and grateful for what you can do in this very second. And that's why people don't change their lives, because they're always looking to the future. They're not looking to the what the fuck can I do right now? Right now, can I put down this podcast? Can I pick up the phone? Can I call a past client? Can I go do a pop by? Can I go check out a new company? Can I go read a book? What can you do right now?
And that's why it's so easy to be a top producing agent. It's so easy because there's hardly anyone doing it. There's hardly anyone that's executing now.
Now, this very second.
There's executing now. And it's around giving value instead of receiving value. Because you give enough out, then it's game over. You're going to get it back.
I was listening to that this morning on another podcast, of the fact that if you pay into the universe, if you pay forward, not money. If you go pay $1,000 and give 10 people $100, they're gonna come right back on that nasty loop, because they're gonna go out, they're gonna be a consumer, they're gonna buy, then they're gonna have no money again. So you did nothing for them and put them right back in the same position. But if you go out and you give a skill or something that can better someone's life incrementally, and if you feel you don't have it, you're completely wrong. Everyone is a master of some or a few things in life that other people are not. Like, I don't know how to raise kids. Shit, that'd be a great tutorial for people. And not that I plan on having kids. Let's knock on wood here quickly. Matt's face. But I mean, you could Matt.
You fight it. You fight it, but you fight it all the time. But you're gonna do it.
Like with baseball bat with nails fighting. Okay. But I mean, if you got now I forgot my damn thought. Damn it, you got me all caught up on the kids idea. And Matt, you're muted.
That's Matt's lead-in.
Yeah, Matt's completely muted and doesn't know it. That's the best part. But let's bring it back to the Re-Succeed book. Let's talk about, what you can do on a nightly basis. How can we bring this back so that people can start putting this badass little guide into action?
Well, what's interesting about the Re-Succeed book is this book happened because I chased after success, but forgot about fulfillment. In fact, I mean, I went from I think it was like 80 deals to 120 deals in 1 year because I basically created this plan and followed it. I mean, there's no rocket science here. I just created a plan and I followed it. I actually executed on it. And by the end of the year, on Christmas Eve 2006, I had sold 120 houses with just an assistant. And I didn't even work that many hours that year. I made well into the 7 digits, and I basically was a mess. I wanted my phone to ring on Christmas Eve. So I tell this story because people would think, if you were a fly on the wall looking down at me, you'd think, oh, this guy's living the dream. But I tell this story because I knew I had derailed. I knew I had misaligned kind of my value, my purpose, my identity with the next transaction. I mean, we all have heard you're only as good as your next transaction. Well, I kind of believed it. I actually believed that was my only value in my family. I mean, basically I told my wife, I'm going to go and do this and you're going to take care of, the kids and I'll catch you at the end of the year. And by the end of the year, I couldn't even sit still on Christmas Eve. I had a starched shirt hanging in the car. I was ready to go to work, put that shirt on Christmas Eve. I wanted to write a deal and I tried to will my phone to ring. And then I realized, I was so great at putting all these deals together in 1 year. And by the way, I did it by just tracking my connections with people and holding myself accountable to meeting this many people here and this many people there and getting this many referrals through relationships and 6 from my loan officer and 3 from my painter and 2 from my whatever, right? So it was broken down like that. How many people go to a painter and say, oh, by the way, you're on my business plan? What do you mean? Oh, yeah, well, I put down that you're going to give me 3 deals that are each worth $300,000 to $400,000. And they were like, well, I don't know if I can do that. Yeah, but you're going to try, right? Or should I not have you on my business plan? Because I'm going to give you all my painting deals, right? I'm not going to hold you like with a gun at your temple. I'm just assuming you would give me all the deals and then I'll give you all my paint deals. Okay, that was a crucial conversation. Someone else is going to work for me, getting me back in 06, 300 to 400K deals, right? And on to the next conversation. Chiropractor, dentist. You can pick obscure stuff. Power washer, like you know how many dude, you pick a guy that puts bark in yards. You know that, I mean, when up here, it's big here that you have to put fresh bark in the landscape beds before you list. And so if I could just follow in the winter, if you don't put bark out in the winter. So if I just followed around landscapers, watching them put bark in yards, I would know who's going to list their homes. I played this game once. Fresh bark going out, wrong time of the year. I knocked on the door. I had a friend I had my buyer's agent with me. I said, watch this. Knocked on the door. I said, hi, how are you? And they said, oh, great. And I said, I see you're putting bark out in your yard. And they said, yeah. And I said, so when should I come over to tell you how much you'll sell for and what I'll do to help you sell? And it was just total assumption. And they said, we already have an agent. So I was not wrong. Right. By the way, I didn't care if I got the listing or not. I was trying to prove to my buyer's agent that I could nose out the opportunity. Right. I did get to do a CMA. I did get the listing. So, the point is, I think I should know lots of landscapers. You're muted again, Matt, and you don't know it.
Yeah, I don't know if he's having a rough day on mics.
Well, kind of. Anyway, no, I was just saying, like I like the obscure contractors idea. That's phenomenal. I mean, the fact that you boil it down to putting out the bark, that may be a regional thing, but I'm sure there's various equivalents. Like your local maple tree tap person. If you happen to be like in Ottawa or something like that. I don't know. We'll figure out something. Everybody has something in their local area.
Lava rock installation.
That's right.
Like Palm Springs or something.
Hideous, I say, hideous. So when it comes to kind of landscapers, this is something I've always thought about and I've never executed on. So you guys are more than happy to take it and run with it. Why don't you guys go and see if you can pay a landscaper, those guys that have the little trailers that carry all the lawnmowers around? Go pay that guy $50 a month and put a sign on the back of his truck. Guess where that thing's always is? It's always in neighborhoods. It's always on the road. And then since you're paying them $50, you put a sign on it. You're getting visibility around town without having to do anything. He's going to flip you a couple of leads because he's going to get a little kickback of some sort that you're going to be able to legally do. In case there's anyone who's watching the show that's a controller, everything's legal. Everything is legal on the show. But I mean, try something along those lines, because then, James, you could get the call from Matt the gardener. Ring, ring. Yes, James. This is Matt. Yes, Matt. Yes. 123 Main Street has ordered bark. I'm on my way.
That's
to the real estate mobile.
It's the Matt phone for real estate.
Yeah.
But again, if you tell every single person you come in contact with the next week that they're in your business plan, and then have that conversation, I guarantee. When I did this to two agents. One was a bank. One was an actual bricks and mortar bank. One was a broker. And I said, "You're in my business plan. You're going to give me between 6 and 7 deals." And then they said, "I don't know if I can do that." And I said, "First of all, who else has ever told you you're in their business plan? No one. Second of all, who else has actually asked for business from you? No one. Believe it or not, no one. No one. No one asked for the reciprocal thing." And then you say, "Yeah, you're just going to send me the deals." It's that easy.
There's two things I love about that comment. One, you're dictating to them. You're not like, "So do you want to be my business plan?" You're like, "No, bitch, you're in my business plan. You're in it."
Unless you tell me otherwise.
I already wrote it down. But you can also then, but you can have that conversation with anybody that you talk to. If you have a good conversation with someone, at Starbucks or whatever, you'll be like, "You know what, James, I want to let you know that you're in my business plan now, and I would love to see how you're going to bring me some deals and how I can bring you some value in your business. Yeah. So let's talk about what I can do for you." There's no question. It's just like, you are in my business plan.
Dude, and there was a little person. That's politically correct.
Finish that sentence, James.
There was a
midget.
There was a little person there. See, I was going to say that, but that's not.
This is Real Estate Uncensored, James.
You might have a large group of little people watching, and they would not appreciate that. So, I was at a Royal Fork. You guys have one of those down there?
What is that?
Oh man!
With my wife's grandfather. and he always liked to take us there, and we get the soft serve, blah blah blah. At the end, get a nice little ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a little person blowing up balloons for all the kids. And I went up to him and I said, I'm wondering if you can send me all of the people that are going to sell right there. I talked to a little person and I said, because if you do, you're now in my business plan. So I have I have a balloon, a little person balloon blowing up guy, right? Who is literally an ambassador for my company. You could do that. You could do it. Greg, you know you come across a lot of connections. You could have little people.
I do. I have my friend Arnay. She's a little person. That's me patting you on the head, Arnay. And she's
well, like, everyone's little to you.
That's true. True that. But she calls herself little. I mean, she is short as shit, dude. Okay. Like countertops are tall to her. So she's gonna murder me later.
Yeah, she is. She's on your business plan.
Arnay, welcome to your future co-host slot on the show. All you got to do is kill Greg. Oh, man. All right. Well, unfortunately, we do have to wrap things up, and we didn't get as deep into the book as we intended, but it was a lot of fun anyway. And James, you're going to be coming back on a regular basis, so we'll have plenty of time to get into the deeper concepts of the book. For those that don't know, this is an integral part of the book, and maybe on the next episode with James, we'll get a chance to explain why.
Yeah, absolutely.
So nice. For everybody that's watching here on Facebook, Greg put the link to the book on Amazon here in the Facebook comments. For everybody that's listening or watching after the fact, just go on Amazon and look up the book Re-Succeed, all one word, James Coburn. That is the right one. James, they can also go to your website and get a sample chapter and all that good stuff. What's the address for that?
JamesColburn.net.
Perfect. All right, Greg. How do we? How do people connect with us?
Guys, sorry, I'm getting James's website so I can post it for you guys. Guys, you guys can go to bookmcdaniel.com, bookmcdaniel.com, and that's where you guys can set up a 30-minute kind of opportunity for us to sit down and talk and see if one-on-one coaching is going to be the right move for you with me or not. And guys, this is not free coaching. This is not a 30-minute coaching. So if you're going to use it as that, do not book a time. If you guys want one-on-one coaching, book the time. And it's going to be $500 a month. So if the money's going to be a problem, don't book the time. If the money's okay, book the time. I think I'm pretty clear here. But that's how you can connect with me. Matt he has decided to. He's got too much on his plate.
No, well, here's the deal, guys. So if we're talking about specific short-term marketing challenges that you're having, where marketing consulting and coaching will help you in your business, especially if you are going down the road of starting a team, or maybe you already have a team and need to get some marketing systems or some team building systems installed in your business. That's where I can really help out versus Greg, which is more on the sales and prospecting coaching side of things. So if that's you and marketing systems and team building systems, getting them in your business is a priority for 2018, that's where you can reach out to me and I can potentially help you. So go to bookjohnson.com and connect with that. Make sure to connect with both of us on Facebook as well as James. Connect with us, follow our Facebook pages and personal profiles, because that's where we do a lot of our Facebook lives. And Greg, you're doing your live prospecting. James, you're doing stuff. We've all got stuff and all got content that goes out on Facebook as kind of our main social media platform. So make sure to connect and follow us on Facebook. Guys, we just want to thank you real quick. We love all of you, and we have loved getting to talk to more of you on these calls, getting to know more about you and where you guys are challenged and struggled and overcoming and doing well and doing poorly, whatever the case is. So we've enjoyed that part of it, and we just really, really appreciate and want to say thank you. And thank you again to all the people that share the show. If you notice, we don't run thousands of dollars of Facebook ads. We don't bombard your email inbox with a bunch of stuff. So the show has grown organically because of you guys sharing it with your other agents that would get benefit out of it. And so we just want to thank you for doing that. Encourage you to keep doing that. Keep sharing it. Keep bringing it to the attention of your broker, your team leader, your productivity coach, or whoever can get benefit out of it. When you see the show live on Facebook, you can share it on your personal profile. That's a great way to help spread the show and help us out, put the show in front of more people, because there's plenty of agents in your world that that are connected to you on Facebook that'll get benefit out of the show, and sharing on your personal profile is a great, easy way to put the show in front of them. So With that said, Greg, that's all I've got. We got to make sure that, we made sure that James has got all of his stuff in the Facebook comments so people can connect and get his book and go visit his website and all that good stuff.
Yep, it is all there, and I want to thank my 5'2" friend Arne for sharing it on this onto her page. And again, the murderers are going to start coming. She's going to cut my heart out with a spoon. But anyways, you guys, a dull spoon and a rusty one. Anyways, like we said, Matt and James, guys, we all love you guys. Keep out there, keep hustling, keep grinding, keep learning, keep getting better. Reach out to people that you don't think are attainable to talk to. They will reach back if they're at the top level of this game, because they want to give and make this industry better. All right, guys, we're coming back with some more great podcasts. Until then, peace out, ninjas. We gone.